to apply some algebra to our work and our understandings of parallel lines cut by a transversal. So I have 5 questions to go through. Let's give them to you. Ready? Hit me, hit me. All right, this one, go ahead, find the value of x. First, I'd like you to say or understand that these are corresponding angles, because if I do drag and drop, they land on top. That means that they have to be equal. You, of course, could just look at it and say, hey, they're both acute, therefore they're going to be equal. Or, well, drag and drop either way for corresponding or the drag and drop technique. Now, since they're going to be equal, 12x plus 3 is equal to 11x plus 9. Subtract 11x from both sides gives me x plus 3 is 9. Subtract 3 from both sides, x is equal to 6. First problem done. 4 to go. Go ahead. Okay, so looking at this guy, I see right away that they are consecutive interior, just like those diamonds that we did before. So that means they're going to be supplementary, meaning they add up to 180 degrees. So I write that equation. I take the first angle, which we represent as 2x, the second, which we represent as 3x plus 20. So here is my first angle, the 2x. Here's my second angle, the 3x plus 20. And when I add them up, I have to get this 180 degrees for being supplementary. Now, that would be 2x's and 3x's add up to 5x plus 20 is equal to 180. Subtracting the 20, 5x is 160. Dividing by 5, x is 32. You'll notice that as long as you have the equation solving skills, and I'll mention it again, if for any reason you have any issues with problem solving with equations or solving equations, then let's talk, let's get this all straightened out. And then once you add that skill, understanding the relationship, I don't think is overly difficult. Hey, look, one of these guys is obtuse. One of them is acute. They have to add up to 180. Or saying, oh, look, they're consecutive interior. They have to be supplementary. Or if I did drag and drop, they'd land next to each other. They have to be supplementary. Whatever perspective you want to understand it is fine. Then you just write the equation. The first angle, 2x, second angle, 3x plus 20, or in the other order, it doesn't matter. They're going to equal 180, and you go with it from there. Okay. Next up, go ahead. Okay, so as I look at these guys, this is another one where, look, they're both acute, or if I did drag and drop, they would land on top, which from a math terminology says that they are corresponding angles and they are congruent. So 2x plus 19 is equal to x plus 23. Opposite side, opposite operation situation, subtracting the x. I get x plus 19 is 23. Then I subtract the 19 and I get x is equal to 4. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Go ahead. It's a little different. They ask you to solve for both x and y, and it doesn't matter which one you solve for first. I think when I did it, I solved for y, but it doesn't make a difference. They both get solved ultimately in the end using the same numbers and formulas. So pick one variable and only solve that one variable. And use the 125 to help you with that variable. Go ahead. Okay, alternate exterior angles are going to be equal to each other. So I'm going to get the y's first, and with respect to the 7y plus 27 and the 125, they are alternate exterior. Or you could look at them as they're both obtuse. Therefore, they are both equal. Subtracting 27 from both sides gives me 7y is 98. Dividing both sides by 7 gives me 14. And that's nice. It does get me the y value, but I still have to get the x value, so don't forget about that. To get that, I'm going to need to use the 15x minus 5 and the 125. Notice they're right next to each other. They're adjacent. They form a linear pair, and they are supplementary. By the way, if you understood that language I used, that they are adjacent, that they form a linear pair, that they are supplementary, You're doing really, really well. One of the big misunderstandings about math, and it's not a gross misunderstanding, but it is a misunderstanding. A lot of people think math and science. If you get high grades in math, you get high grades in science, and if you struggle in math, you struggle in science. A lot of people think that's true, and there is more of a correlation with math and science than there is, say, math and history. But the strongest correlation, believe it or not, is math and foreign language. And the better you are with languages, the better you are with mathematics, because they're both logic-based and system-based. Okay. So, as we said before, they add up to 180. So 15x minus 5 plus 125 is equal to 180. That gives me 15x plus 120 is 180. Subtracting the 120, I get 15x is 60. I didn't show you the step there, but I think you can follow it. And dividing by 15, I get that x is equal to 4. One more question to go. My cat's yelling to get fed out there, so let's get this one done before I go feed my cat. Okay, assuming you did stop and start as you should. These are consecutive interior. They're just on the other side of where I had the diamonds, but they're still consecutive and they're still interior. Or you could have noticed that they had one obtuse and one acute. So you know they're supplementary. They add up to 180. Same side, same operation. Let's combine those like terms. 2x plus 148, because 55 and 93 is 148, equals 180. Subtracting the 148, 2x is 32. Dividing by 2, and I get x is equal to 16. Okay, so that's our study of parallel lines cut by a transversal. And like everything I do in all courses I teach all of my life, we were going to do lots more of this. So hopefully you have a really good foundation today. It'd be awesome if you understand the entire lesson inside out, backwards and forwards. But even if you don't, as long as you got that foundation set and you think you're starting to get it, no problem. We'll go through this again every day, like for the rest of the year. We'll do at least one of these. Probably in the more recent, or the days coming up immediately, I am sure we will do more than one a day, probably 2 to 5 a day. Okay, so there we have parallel lines cut by a transversal, and I hope you're understanding it really well. If you know what, if you're not, go watch a video a second time. Get it down pat. Have a great day. Bye-bye.